Okay, just one more minute and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Phil Jackson. I work at Purview. Purview is one of the corporate sponsors of the Horos project. And we're going to talk to you guys a little bit today about what we think is the premier open source medical image viewer. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions. Feel free to ask those questions during the webinar. You can ask those questions with the GoToWebinar control panel by raising your hand and or just shooting us a question that'll come up on our screen here, and we'll do our best to get those questions answered in a timely fashion. A couple of comments on the GoToWebinar control panel and the GoToWebinar application. If you are experiencing any difficulties using the GoToWebinar application, simply give us a shout and we'll see what we can do to help. But we would suggest that you go ahead and restart your computer or restart the GoToWebinar client, which typically resolves these issues. So I want to talk a little bit today about what Horos is and isn't, and do our best to give you an update on where we are from a development standpoint with the Horos application and some of the outstanding bugs and feature requests. This will be a fairly brief webinar, so you certainly don't have to invest a lot of time. It probably will last anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes. So as you may or may not be familiar with, Osirix is an open source medical image viewer. And Osirix has been around for just over 10 years now. It was originally developed out of, I believe, UCLA, and then found a home in Geneva, Switzerland with a company called Pixmio. Its developers have done just a wonderful job at building a Mac-based medical image viewer and have taken what was an open source project down a fairly commercialized path, now offering something called Osirix Lite, with an option to purchase an FDA-approved version with more capabilities, and as well purchase an Osirix HD application, which is an iOS version of the Osirix application. And so based on that behavior of taking it down a more commercial path, at Purview, we made a decision along with several community members to begin laying the groundwork for a truly open source version, a truly open source medical image viewer for the Mac platform based on the Osirix source code. And that, what we call a fork in open source lingo, began with version 5.9 of Osirix. And with that fork of Osirix 5.9, we built Horos, which is an alternative now to Osirix. It is a 64-bit version, so it can manipulate larger DICOM medical imaging data sets. We removed many of the nag screens, as we refer to them here, that were becoming prominent in the Osirix application, Osirix Lite. We built it, again, as 64-bit, so you can open the larger data sets, the 500-plus image series. We re-enabled DICOM editing so that you can manipulate DICOM metadata. And we did all of this under a very open source GPL license. So a license that really protects the identity and the source code and the works that come from the community to make Horos even better. So that's what Horos is. It is, I will mention that it is not an FDA-approved application, and based on the organization that you work in, you may require that medical image viewers have certain certifications, like FDA approval in the United States, or CFDA in China, or CE marks in Europe, or the Canadian seal of approval as well. So be cautious. or cognizant, I should say, of the certifications that are required when you're using a medical image viewer in diagnostic applications. But in many cases, Horos will meet your needs just wonderfully. Today we have over 4,000 users, individual users all around the globe using Horos, which is very exciting. Those numbers are just updated as of a few days ago, so we're stoked to see that so many people are using Horos in so many different applications, whether it be veterinary care, academia, neurosurgery, radiology, ophthalmology, oncology, you name it. We have users using Osiris in ways that are just wonderfully meaningful. In our next slide here, we want to actually go ahead and prompt you to ask some questions. So use the hand raise icon, and I can unmute your microphone if you have a question, or you're welcome to send those questions to us via the questions interface in Horos, and we'll see if we can get some of your questions answered. I'm going to go ahead and minimize the slide deck here, so just a moment. We'll see. We have a pretty small group with us today. I was actually expecting a few more, which is why we waited so long. It just depends. People's Fridays get busy, so we can certainly appreciate that. We are recording this webinar today, so we'll share that with the folks who didn't join in. Are there any questions from those who are with us today? Okay, well, I'm gonna go into my memory bank here and see if I can recall some of the questions that have come up previously. Many of those questions relate to whether or not the Horos project is going to get an FDA approval for its application, and we don't have an answer for that right just yet. We're focused on building an improved version of Osiris as Horos, and we're spending a lot of time on that. We want to get all of the bugs worked out and make sure that it works in a way that's incredibly useful for those folks who are using it. And so again, we haven't spent a significant amount of time pursuing the FDA approval. We've spent a significant amount of time investigating what's required, and we've kind of put that on a back burner for the time being while we focus on really making the application great, which is really important. We've had some questions come up previously about best ways to engage if you're not, a software developer. So certainly there's a role as users of Horos to champion it to their friends and colleagues, and we certainly appreciate that. We can certainly use help when it comes to knowing what the current issues are with the application. So if you experience an issue with Horos, we'd like you to let us know about those on the Horos website under the bug tracker. Set up an account and keep us posted on what's bugging you, what's not working, and we'll do our best to get those improvements implemented. And if you are a software developer, we're always looking for help. In fact, it was very encouraging. We had a gentleman help us with an issue that was creeping up for some of our users, not one of our typical developers, but a new developer who's contributing some source code to the Horos application to fix a bug, which was really exciting to see. We've had some questions about using Horos as a PACS archive, and so again, I'm just kind of going through my memory bank to recall some tidbits of information that I think are wonderfully helpful to those people who are getting started with Horos. And I think that our general rule of thumb, as it is with Osiris, and at Purview we support probably over 100 customers globally now and thousands of Osiris workstations. Our general rule of thumb is not to use Horos or Osiris as a medical image archive, but to use it as a medical image viewer. If you need an archive, there are lots of wonderful resources, both open source and paid for applications to address image archive needs. And Purview has some wonderful cloud-based image management products to use alongside Horos to archive your medical images long-term. And I would encourage you to engage with Horos and investigate what options are there if you need to archive medical images permanently. But Horos is a wonderful medical image viewer, and it is also an incredible 3D workstation and can certainly retain a couple thousand imaging studies in its local database very easily. So if we don't have any questions from the crowd today, those are some of the questions that we've received in previous webinars, and I hope that information is helpful to you as you embark in using Horos in your practice or in your educational pursuits. We're going to talk a little bit next about some of the changes, code fixes that have been implemented over the past few weeks. We have Horos set up now so that it compiles in Xcode 6.x, which is a big step forward. We're working on building Horos in Yosemite in El Capitan, which is the new version of OS 10 that will be coming out. So keep posted on that. We have some image orientation fixes that have come out thanks to Zhao, who has contributed some source code to help address those issues. Our next full build of Horos is coming in September. I know it seems like we've been pushing that off quite some time, but we think it's important to get quite a bit of work done before we release that next version. We have the Mantis bug tracker utility. We want to remind people that if you have bugs, keep an eye out. Both document those bugs in Mantis, but also keep an eye out for correspondence, because as we address those bugs in the source code and release patches, hot fixes, new versions of software, we could certainly use your assistance in testing and making sure those issues are no longer producible. So lots of good stuff happening. And all leading up to a version 1.1, which will be coming out with again in September. And let's talk a little bit about what will be included in version 1.1. It's our next major release. Of course, our first major release was version 1.0 on Valentine's Day, and version 1.1 in September of 2015. We will have scheduled auto routing implemented in version 1.1 so that you'll be able to schedule your auto routing rules to take place perhaps after hours when your practice is a little less busy or your bandwidth is a little more available. We'll have a migration assistant to transfer your existing data and preferences from Osirix, which I think is just awesome. So you won't have to worry about copying those settings over manually. We'll be doing some build refactoring, which will allow us to make use of Xcode in later versions of OS 10. We've got some more bug fixes coming. And we are restructuring the plugin environment to be more conducive to third-party developers. We hear oftentimes that developing plugins for Osirix is a little more difficult than it needs to be, and we're doing some work in Horos to make sure that plugin development is super accessible and super straightforward, user-friendly. And so we're doing some good work there. If you have any more specific questions about version 1.1 and what it might or might not include, I'd encourage you to reach out to us. I'll provide some methods of contact here at the conclusion of the slide deck. And I want to talk a little bit about who we are. So Purview, we're a cloud-based image management vendor. We offer several products that allow academia, healthcare organizations to store, access, and retrieve medical images anywhere, anytime, on any device. We are the probably largest professional support organization for Osirix, supporting probably a couple of thousand Osirix workstations globally and over 100 customers. We've got over 10 years of company experience with Osirix, probably 25 to 30 years of cumulative Osirix experience across our team. We are experts. We live and breathe this stuff every day. We actually have a support hub or organization based out of Annapolis, Maryland, that works with customers around the world and helps them implement Osirix and Horos in ways that are meaningful for their practice, using best practices and supporting those systems so that they're available to their clinicians or academics, on an as-needed basis. And that's what we do here at Purview. So we have a strong interest in Horos and Osirix, and we're certainly laser focused on those products. We don't provide support for lots of products, to different technologies. Horos and Osirix are really part of our primary focus here at Purview. I want to throw up our question screen one more time and see if any of the few participants we have today have any questions for us that may not have been answered during the webinar. So I'll insert a brief pause here and let you guys get your thoughts together and ask questions. And actually, while you're getting those questions together, I'm going to go ahead and put up our contact information here for you. And that information is great if you want to get a hold of our team, horos@horosproject.org. If you want to post an issue, use the horosproject.org/mantisbt. That is a bug tracker, and that'll let us, you can let us know about bugs, new feature requests that you have, and we'll jump on those. And of course, the Horos Project website, you certainly probably know where that is, but there it is in print. It looks like we do have a question from Danielle. Let's take a look. And Danielle would like to know more about the Horos user interface and how would I learn more about that. It's a great question. There are a bunch of good videos in YouTube, both for Osirix, which is OSIRIX, and those videos will, in a lot of ways, explain the user, the use capabilities, the capabilities of the application. Horos is very much like Osirix, and we are actively working on documentation and have some thoughts on making that accessible sooner than later. And so we'll, hopefully we'll have some resources up on our website shortly to help you navigate the Horos application, as well as some new tools to help you engage with other community members in a more meaningful way. Danielle, I hope that's helpful. If you have any specific or pointed questions that you'd like to ask us, again, I'd welcome you to shoot us an email at horos@horosproject.org, and we'll see if we can help you, navigate the user interface. It might be helpful if we knew how you used it. So if you're using it in a practice, a veterinary practice, an oncology practice, a hospital, in academics, to review your own personal images, if you could give us some guidance on that, along with your questions, that would be wonderful. It looks like you're in the veterinary field, and you're looking at large DICOM CT data sets, so that's super helpful. I think either myself or one of my colleagues can certainly provide you with some guidance on making more meaningful use of those CT data sets. So Danielle, do us a favor, shoot us an email so we don't forget about you at horosproject.org, and we'll ship over some information that might help you navigate those data sets a little more easily. And it looks like that might be it for questions today. We certainly appreciate you touching base with us. We hold these brief webinars to keep those users of our application informed, so they know what's being done, what's coming, and an opportunity to talk to a real person behind the application. We love doing these, and we'd encourage you to continue to participate as we make these available in the near future. And we want to thank you for spending 15 to 20 minutes Friday, or is coveted time that you're, where you're busy and you're trying to wrap your week up. So we appreciate you spending the time with us. We hope you have a good weekend, and certainly if you have any questions, we welcome you to reach out. Thanks so much.